for sticking with us on Arc Rochester. Meteorologist Mark McLean is back for our next segment, From the Ground Up.
Yeah, do you like roses?
Yeah. I do, yeah.
Yeah, lots of different types of roses. It's amazing when you go to a garden center and you see them all, you know, what grows where, what's the best spot, what do I need if I want to start a rose garden? And you see so many, I mean, like Maplewood. Have you ever walked through Maplewood, the rose garden on Lake? It's just, there's so many beautiful places. So this week we got into the roses, and then at the end we talked about little disease and pest control for roses as well. Check it out. Hey, do you love roses? We're at the Garden Factory. I'm here with Nick Mostarda, the nursery manager, and we're surrounded by these beautiful roses. You want to learn something about the roses? Hey, Nick, let's talk about a few of these beautiful roses. What do we have right here in front of us?
So this first one is a knockout rose. It's known as a disease-resistant rose. Does really well in landscapes, and it's a prolific bloomer.
And you can also put them in pots, right?
You can. Just keep up on the watering. If you do put them in pots, they're going to take a bit more water than they would in the ground.
Okay, perfect. And out in the front, a little bit longer there, we have a climbing rose. So what spot is good for a climbing rose? Why is that different than, say, a hybrid tea?
So the climbers are going to do exactly what they say. They are a climber. They're going to climb your arbors, your trellises, things like that.
Okay.
They can get upwards of 10 foot tall. Wow. If you let them go. They do really, really well in those types of applications. Not so much if you're trying to put them in like the middle of a landscape.
Could you use it for privacy and security?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Yep. And we got some hybrid teas here. These are beautiful right here. Check that out. Look at the color on that.
Yep, and hybrid teas you're known for as your cutting roses.
Okay.
They're going in vases and different arrangements. They stand up tall on a nice tall stem. Big blooms. They do really well for that application.
Bringing them home and putting them in a nice vase, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And the more you cut them off, the more you're going to get blooms on them.
And what do we have here?
This is a Floribunda rose.
That's beautiful.
Flowers pretty similarly to a hybrid tea, but in a little bit more compact. A little bit smaller flower than a hybrid tea.
Okay.
Generally, you can kind of keep those in the landscape and do pretty good with those as well.
And if you want the fragrance, you have one variety that's much more fragrant than others. That's this David Austin, right?
Yes, the David Austin, the English roses, known for its fragrance, known for its beauty. They're a pretty coveted rose.
Oh, very good. And one last but not least, can you even get a rose in a tree form? You
absolutely can. They graft them. They graft them in knockouts. We have a petite knockout, which is a dwarf knockout that's grafted onto a tree farm right now. And they're a man-made tree.
They're just beautiful. I mean, the color on it is astounding.
Yeah, and they're a rebloomer, so they continuously will keep blooming until frost.
Okay, and obviously for everyone that's had roses, we know at times there's disease pressure, there's insect pressure. Let's talk about some of the things that we can use for disease and pest control.
So with roses, you got to be careful with moisture. Too much moisture, you're going to get powdery mildew or a little bit of black spot. This product, the Rose 4-in-1, the Rose X, works really well for pesticides.
Okay.
It also works well for any of those funguses and things like that.
What else do we have? We've got Captain Jack's.
Yep.
And we've got some copper fungicide. What do you say about these guys? These are organic products?
Yep, so yes, they are all organic. The dead bug will help you with insects that might be eating your leaf. The copper fungicide will help you with your funguses and different things like that at first sign. It kind of helps it from preventing from spreading because it can spread pretty quickly.
Okay. And anything else you want to tell people about keeping these beautiful roses happy and healthy throughout the year?
Yeah, just make sure you're planting them in full sun. They like to be in full hot sun. Be careful with overwatering with roses. They do like a well-drained soil. Try to stay away from clay soils. Pretty much, that's about it.
Yeah, and that's one of the tough things, you know, the soil condition, you know, and some of this, you know, leads itself to different diseases and, you know, the fungus that goes. You got rust, you've got black spot, you've got powdery mildew, and all these different things. You know, outside of some of the stuff we were just talking about, you can also take a teaspoon of baking soda and mix it in with a quart of water and put it on the rose too for some of the control there. So you don't have to spend a ton of money, but always good to go organic. The copper, the sulfur based for for the disease and pest controls.
And you have some of those in your house, right?
I grow the knockout rose that he started to, that Nick was mentioning there. I put it in a pot out on the deck, and it just started blooming today. Wow. You will not see the rose when it goes into bloom because there'll be so many blooms open. I'll take a picture and bring it in, but it's a red one. You have to be careful with those if you put them in pots because our winters are pretty tough. If it gets below 0 for a couple of nights in a row and you had one of these in a pot, it would likely perish. So I bring it in the garage in the wintertime and put it in the garage. The garage gets down to, 15 or so at night. Usually getting it out of the wind, getting it into the garage, usually gets it through a winter. Now, if it's already planted in the ground, obviously, that you're going to have to consider something else, than bring it inside.
Something that's been really great about these garden segments has just been learning that you can keep your plants for the entire year. I know we talked about annuals and perennials. So that's been really cool, especially the note about the flower because the conditions really do change, especially here.
Yeah.
So just to find that out has been great.
Yeah, it's fun. And our climate it's just on the border for so many different things. Our dogwoods up here, beautiful flowering tree. They're hardy enough, but if we get a real winter, a lot of these ornamental trees get wiped out. If you get temperatures below -15, -20 for a length of time, it can be tough. But roses there too, and going back to the ones that are grafted on, they had the knockout rose grafted on, like a little tree. Yeah. You have to be careful with those ones too. Hardiness, when we were selling them, we said leave it in the pot, put it in the ground, feed it, and then bring it in, put it in the garage, and overwinter it and bring it back out. I know that sounds like a pain, but it's a cost versus am I buying a new one next year?
Right.
What are we doing here?
And I'm sure worth it if you do get to keep it alive. It's really beautiful.
It is, and it's gratifying. Yep.
Yeah, very good. All right, so this was, correct me if I'm wrong, the last segment from the ground up. Yes?
Yeah. The hope is now that we'll move on to a new project. Hopefully, details coming on up for that next Thursday.
All right, looking forward to that. This has been super fun, and I'm fairly certain you can find all of these from the ground up segments over on our website. Yep. Lots of good information from Mark and the folks over at the Garden Factory.
Yeah, it's in the community tab when you go to 13wham.com. Just click on community, and it's in that drop down.
Very good.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, stick around. We've got so much more to come here on ARC Rochester, including when we come back, it's this morning's Reporter Recap.
Don't forget, take us on the go wherever you are. We're streaming live right now on the 13 Wham YouTube channel at foxrochester.com. We're back after this.